mode should not be attempted until you feel as confident as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson must feel in everyday life. I had a similar experience with the speedrunning achievements. Once you know exactly where to go and what to prioritize, it is extremely reasonable to knock out the entirety of Hollow Knight in a limited amount of time. Keep a cool head, save as often as you can, and get in the zone. I had to restart a couple of times, but eventually I figured out what I needed to do with time to spare. It might sound like this game gave me very little trouble, but the DLC is where things took a little bit of a turn, especially with the release of the Godmaster update over this last summer. Getting to 112% completion is hard as hell. While the Grim Troop and Hidden Dreams content packs had some tough but fun challenges, the Godmaster DLC is probably the toughest challenge that can ever be conceived of for this kind of game. Godmaster is by far the hardest challenge in all of Hollow Knight. Let's start with the Hall of Gods. Doesn't seem so bad at first. The hall is lined with statues of bosses you've encountered throughout the game, kind of like Shadow of the Colossus, if you will. Interacting with them allows you to challenge them again. Beat that and you can face a more difficult version of that foe. Beat that version and you can face that same difficult version once more, with the caveat that you will die if you get hit once. And you have to do all 3 of these fights for every boss, and even some sub-bosses. I was able to take down some of these challenges on my first try. However, some of these bosses took me literally hours to take down, whether it's because the fight took a long time and I kept slipping up at the end, like with the Soul Tyrant, or because they create a battlefield of bullshit that is near impossible to navigate, like the Markov. Now, you may notice when you enter the Hall of Gods that you are missing some of the boss statues found within. That is due to the second large challenge of the Godmaster DLC, the Pantheons. These Pantheons act as almost Mega Man-esque boss rushes. Within each Pantheon, you need to refight 10 predetermined bosses. 9 of these bosses are ones that you've encountered throughout your journey, but the 10th is a brand new foe not found in the base game. These new enemies provide a great challenge and are an exciting way to end these Pantheons. I loved it! That is, until you apply bindings. Each Pantheon has 4 bindings that are meant to create a tougher challenge for the player. They limit the player in various ways, such as removing all charms, setting your health to 4 masks, allowing only 1 charge of soul, and reducing the damage of your weapon to 80%. One binding can make these Pantheons difficult, but in order to get the full Godmaster experience, you'll need to complete all these Pantheons with all of the bindings turned on at the same time. Just sit with that in your chest for a minute. Process it, let it sink in, and start to make you freak out a little bit. After struggling through countless attempts, you'll finally reap your reward. The bindings glow gold next to the door. All of that work for some glowing textures. Now, from what I can tell, this gold shine is the only thing you get for this work. I'm honestly not even really sure, because there are so few people out there to compare this achievement to see if there's anything else you get. And on top of that, just when you think you finished the DLC, the 5th secret Pantheon opens up. This Pantheon is actually the most difficult thing in the game. Instead of fighting 10 bosses, you are now fighting over 40 bosses in a row. And guess what? They're the tougher variants that we found in the Hall of Gods. And some of the bosses are variants that you won't find anywhere else in the game, including absolute Radiance. This dude takes up an already difficult fight and cranks it up to 11. And of course, you need to do all of this with the 4 bindings equipped. Each attempt on this Pantheon would take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. In order to accomplish this task, hours were spent in the Hall of Gods grinding out optimal strategies against the more difficult bosses. And when you finally take down the Pantheon, you get a new ending that seems to allude to the upcoming Hornet DLC. This challenge, may I repeat this challenge should never ever be attempted. Most people will struggle, will just be beating the Pantheons normally. But taking it on with the binding turn is the very definition of insanity. Turns out there is one extra thing that becomes available if you're able to fill out all the notches of the Pantheon. Access to a secret area with an item called the Weathered Mask, which adds another entry to the bestiary. Again, a cool lore addition, but for how much damn work I put into getting there, I can confidently say I don't feel like it was worth it. Ultimately, what's great about Hollow Knight is how good it feels to play in every respect. The controls are tight, the exploration is fun and interesting, and the world is just as huge and fantastic as anything I could have ever have hoped for. You constantly feel like you're progressing, even if it's only a little bit at a time. Getting all the achievements was a challenge though, and that DLC, especially the Godmaster update, puts a lot of what makes this game great into a whole other context. Like, if you had an amazing 5-course dinner, but the dessert was just a huge pine cone, and you were not allowed to leave the table until you finished every single bite. Sit with that pine cone, think about it. You know what? Go get a pine cone and just look at it, and imagine it in your stomach digesting. That's what the DLC is. Enjoy. Getting through all of Hollow Knight is a long, hard journey. To get every achievement, you must play through this game many times in several different ways. The rewards for playing this way are minimal, but it does feel like the game's creators made a point to acknowledge how difficult it is to accomplish everything on this list. Most rewards are lore-based, referring to the in-game bestiary, the Hunter's Journal, which can only be filled out by finding every single enemy on the map and defeating many of them dozens of times. This takes a ton of time, but finally doing so rewards the players with the Hunter's Mark, which doesn't actually do anything but unlock a few extra lore entries. Still, it's nice to at least get a nod for filling out the whole thing. There are many other checkmark type achievements in Hollow Knight, and most reward the player as they go along with currency, charms, and more lore related dialogue. It really feels like the more you do in this game, the more you learn about the world, which is a pretty cool reward overall. I do wish the rewards for achieving the most challenging feats in this game were more substantive, but I don't really fault the developers for that. It wouldn't be in the spirit of the game to offer unlimited stamina or invincibility as a reward. So really, it's completion for completion's sake. You know what? I'll take it, even if I'm forever scarred by Godmaster. When I completed Hollow Knight, there were 3 full campaign playthroughs, including 100% speedrun in under 20 hours, and 100% where I didn't die once. 158 entries to the Hunter's Journal filled out. 45 charms collected, 47 bosses defeated, dozens and dozens of times because of the Godmaster DLC. 150 hours of total playtime. And one very stoked completionist who's excitedly planning out Indie Land Part 2. I can't wait to see what gets voted at the top of the pile next year. I had a ton of fun with Hollow Knight. The challenge is real, but it's wonderful to get lost in the realm of hollowness and uncover mysteries. Everything about this game is so considered, and so much care has been taken with every aspect. It's a beautiful and heartfelt game, and its reputation is well deserved. Hollow Knight is an instant classic that everyone should experience at some point or another. However, if you are a completionist, those DLC add-on packs are no joke. They're fun, but the challenge level is so damn high, you might get frustrated and want to walk away from it all. At the very least, it is an incredible game. So, with that in mind, guys, I give this game my completionist rating of finish it. Finish it. That's all the time we have today, guys, so please, as always, let me know what you think about today's episode somewhere on the internet. If you like the show, you want some more exclusive completionist content, head over to patreon.com/thecompletionist. We got a podcast going on there. We have a board game show. Tons of fun, new things. Just give me a sec here. I want to try something out. Okay. Is that better? That
actually might be better. I don't know. I felt like I have to have every light on in the studio at once, but I think I'm well illuminated just from that. Plus, you get to see the Halloween lights a little bit better back there. So let me know. But anyway, yeah, new week, still in the new studio, and we have a new addition. It's so cool. Every other video, we're going to have a new addition to the studio. Today's edition, because I had recommendations from the fans, things that people wanted to see in the studio, and I actually had a lot of suggestions for plants. So meet Plant. He is a plant. I'm not going to put googly eyes and a funny face on him. Oh, who am I kidding? I probably will. Give it about a week, he'll have a funny face on him. But yeah, for right now, he's just Plant. He's not a real plant. He's fake. But you know, he's trying his best, and that's all that matters. So I'm just gonna put this plant over here next to Barry. Probably will move it back to the bookshelf, you know, eventually. But for right now, Barry's special guest is Plant. So, yeah, okay. Anyway, hey everybody, how are you doing? Techie and Barry and Plant back again. And today we're going to be talking about Big Mom. Oh, that's right, the Big Mom that she is. So I get a lot of comments. Every time, usually what will happen is in a video or in the review, I'll bring up like, oh yeah, Big Mom's going to, you know, lose. You know, Kid and Law are going to defeat her. And, you know, Big Mom's going to lose, Kaido's going to lose. And every time I say that, I get a bunch of comments that are like, Techie! Do you really think Big Mom's going to lose here? Seriously, Techie. Did you see everything she did at Totland? Do you really think that Trafalgar Law and Eustace Kid are going to be able to defeat Big Mom in this arc? I mean, I guess it makes sense because with Kaido, Luffy had a lot of help, okay? It's not just, I think everybody can agree, Luffy at 100%, Kaido at 100%, Kaido's going to win, all right? We had a lot of people throwing attack after attack at Kaido, and so he's definitely wearing down right now. So Luffy finishing him off is, I guess, not that absurd. Plus, he's the main character of the story. But Big Mom, in contrast, has really not received that much damage comparably. She certainly didn't have, like, all the scabbards go up against her first. And even when Luffy and Zoro and Kid and Killer and Law went up against Big Mom and Kaido, you could tell they were definitely focusing on Kaido there. Like, they were trying to dish out as many attacks as they could out on Kaido because they knew Kaido was the main threat. He was the one that kind of ruled over all of Wano. I mean, Big Mom was a threat, but they're just kind of like, Big Mom is there. Like, we're not really here to defeat Big Mom, we're here to defeat Kaido. And that's who everybody was, like, laser focused on. So for that reason, Big Mom really didn't receive all that much damage during that battle. In fact, I went back and checked, and the most substantial amount of damage that Big Mom really received there was Law used Counter Shock against her. I mean, there was some other attacks that attacked her, but nothing really all that major. And in fact, Law just used Counter Shock on her again in the last chapter when he was fighting alongside Kid. So that makes me think maybe Law is sort of playing the long game with that. Like, just going to keep using Counter Shock on Big Mom over and over again. Maybe it'll eventually paralyze her nerves or something. I don't know. I just got to keep trying, right? There was the attack that they sort of used in combination to knock Big Mom off the side of Onigashima, which that was the whole reason why she got separated, why she's fighting Kid and Law right now. You know, but that wasn't an attack that really did her any damage. Their efforts were just to push her off of the side because fighting her and Kaido together at once was just hell. There was just no way, right? So Big Mom, you know, compared to Kaido, has not really received that much damage. Also, she's not bench pressing an island right now, which is, I just remind you all, that is what Kaido is in fact doing. He's a dragon, he's a fish, he's a duck, and he's also bench pressing an island while fighting against a monkey that is made of rubber. That's also King Kong. There you go. This is One Piece in a nutshell right there. So anyway, I can understand why a lot of people think that, like, you know, Kid and Law are just not going to be able to succeed in this, okay? Big Mom's just not going to go down that lightly. So I wrote down a few scenarios, possibilities on how Law and Kid are going to be able to defeat Big Mom. Rather than possibilities, I wrote down certain outcomes of the fight. Basically, every conceivable possibility, like, well, how would Kid and Law manage to triumph? What would happen, okay? So let's just go through these possibilities today, all right? Let me know down below. Okay, so the first one is the most obvious. It's just a KO. It's just a knockout, you know? Through sheer perseverance and effort and grit and moxie, Kid and Law put aside their differences. They work together. They bust out all of the skills of their devil fruits. They use observation hockey. They use Conqueror's hockey. I think it was revealed Kid does have Conqueror's hockey. Law probably has it too. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. and they unlock all these powers that they have. Maybe they awaken their devil fruits along the way, but it all culminates in one final high-octane combo attack between both of them. It's just like, all right, Law, let's do this. All right, kid, you son of a gun, let's just work together. Here we go. Counter shock times 10. Giant metal arm. And he just like attacked Big Mom, and Big Mom's like, Mama, you can't hope to. Oh no, boom, and they just hit her really, 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 really hard. And going with Dragon Ball Z, logic, she falls, she hits the ground, she gets knocked out, not killed because this is One Piece, but gets a KO out on her. Although, I would say that if they did actually manage to knock Big Mom out, Luffy is the kind of person that would just let it be, right? Like, Luffy's just the kind of person that would be like, okay, I beat the big bad, they're knocked out, they're not going to be able to fight anymore, and Luffy would just leave, okay? Kid, on the other hand, though, like, Big Mom, one of the Yonko, you can't really see her, but she is back there on the backdrop. Big Mom, one of the Yonko, we managed to knock her out, and, all we have to do now, all I have to do is summon, a giant metal spike in the air and just, or decapitate her, make a giant guillotine, and just, Kid is the kind of pirate that would do that. Maybe Law could hold him back, or maybe their attack just drains them so damn much that they literally were, that's it. That's their final attack. It knocks out Big Mom. Law and Kid are still barely conscious after that. Law can't even, muster a room the size of a closet, and Kid can't even lift a screw. So at that point, it's like, you know what? We won, call it a day, and they leave, okay? And to be fair, that's how most fights in One Piece end. Look at the Killer and Hawkins fight that we just had. Look at the Jack versus Inuarashi fight. Look at Nekomamushi when he fought against that weird candy guy, right? It's like a big epic fight, and then it's just like, bam, you're knocked out. Bam, you're sliced up. Bam, you're clawed up by a giant cat. That's how One Piece goes. So I had to put that on the list at number 1. Having a Yonko just knocked out like that would be... The effects of that would ring true throughout the fandom, definitely, because we've seen some major beatdowns in this story. We've never seen one of the Yonko just get flat out just KO'd right there. So it would be a shocker. It would be a thing that hasn't happened before, but in terms of fights in One Piece, you have to take it into consideration, right? The next option I put down is not exactly knocking Big Mom out or killing her, but rendering her into a state where she would be unable to fight physically. And this is where I was thinking the Law's, counter shock strategy would come into play, okay? So remember, Law is a doctor, Law is a surgeon. In fact, his epitaph is the Surgeon of Death. All right, now you don't get the title of Surgeon of Death unless you've done some messed up things, like rip out the hearts of 100 pirates and then literally put them into a crate and...
Your nose dread, try soothing puffs plus lotion instead.
Government, which is what Law did. As a matter of fact, I have to remind you, he actually did that. Now, with his ability, he didn't literally kill 100 people and rip out their hearts Temple of Doom style, but he still ripped out 100 hearts and then shipped them to the government, okay? So, yeah, he did still do that. It's pretty grisly. So I would imagine that Law, when he fights, and we even got an indication of this when he was fighting against Kaido, he fights surgically. He doesn't just try to I'm going to hit you a bunch of times with my sword, or I'm going to punch you a lot, or I'm going to kick you a lot, and you're going to fall down. No, when Law was fighting against Kaido, Luffy goes into Gear 4, he's all ready to go, and then Kid, punk rotten, he has his giant metal robo arms going, and he's like, I'm going to trash compact you, Kaido. And then Law's off to the side just lifting up some rocks, and he's just like, I will deliver a surgical death from the inside out. That's how Law fights, okay? So, with that being said, Law, doing that counter shock strategy, he's already used it once on her beforehand, and then just again, so twice so far, maybe even more than that, I'm not really sure exactly how many times he's used it, but maybe that might be a thing that's like, hey, if I just keep electrocuting Big Mom in maybe he's aiming for a particular spot. Last chapter, he was sort of aiming for her head, but what if he was actually aiming for her spinal cord? Because he's like, okay, Big Mom is huge. She's like a giant iron balloon. Her defenses are crazy. But, you know, electricity might be able to permeate, might be able to push through that iron flesh. And if I juiced her spinal cord enough times with enough electricity, it might take a few, but eventually she might not be able to move anymore, right? Okay? And so it's not the kind of thing that you could just do in one attack. So maybe he's just using it over and over again. I mean, that seems like the smart thing to do if, you know, you were a doctor and you had this ability of the op-off fruit, right? And like, I have the power of a defibrillator, basically. I'm just going to keep the same spot over and over again. It eventually has to have some sort of effect. You'd think it would, okay? You know, he's also got the radio knife and the gamma knife and all those other really cool abilities that include damaging you from the inside out rather than, you know, damaging Big Mom's actual flesh, okay? And also you have to consider, for most of this fight, Kid has been, you know, out of it because of, you know, Hawkins and using the voodoo powers and the Wara Wara Numi. So Law's, you know, fighting Big Mom pretty much on his own for the last couple of minutes, you know, and then Kid's on the ground like, oh, I have a migraine. You know, he's not really able to fight back, okay? So Law, at this point in the fight, Kid has gotten back up and he's going to help Law fight. But up until this point, you have to assume Law is like, all right, I'm getting no help from Eustace, all right? So I have to do this on my own. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but if we're going to do this, we're going to do it the right way, the doctor way, the Trafalgar D. Water Law way, all right? So he might have had a strategy already planned, but now that Kid is back up and running, you know, he's gotten his second wind, so to speak, it might be a situation where Law kind of just like, you know, maybe pushes Big Mom away for a little bit, and then just like tells Kid, like, all right, listen, while you were on the ground with your damn headache for most of this fight, I kind of set up things ready to go. Like, I kind of damaged her organs, I electrocuted her a bunch of times. You know, I'm not a physical fighter. You know, Law isn't this big, giant, like, King Kong gun, you know, punk rotten kind of fighter. He doesn't have any big moves like that that can deal, like, a lot of concussive damage at once, okay? It's not how Law fights. So maybe it's like, okay, I set it up, and now you just gotta knock the pins down, all right, Kid? All right, all you need is just make a giant metal fist and then punch her really hard, like right here in the center of the chest, or wherever I weakened her or whatever, and that'll like rupture some organs, that'll knock some things out of place, and you know, we should be able to win this, okay? And so maybe not knock her out necessarily, but get her to the point where she won't be able to fight as much anymore. You know, they've wounded her to that point, or they've like paralyzed her or something. You know, she's like a status effect, like from Pokemon, right? So that might be the thing there. You know, Law is all surgical and like, all right, so you know, target all of her weak points because Law would know where all those are. You know, Big Mom is pretty big of a target. I'm just saying, right? And it's like, okay, I've done all that, and now it's up to Kid to like make the giant. Here comes the giant fist, and you know, just punch her really hard in the exact point, or make a metal spike or something to stab her or something. Like, it's getting kind of grisly and dark, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right? You know, like Law goes up to Kid, and he's like, all right, Kid, here's the deal. Can you use your magnet fruit to make a giant nail gun? You know, and Kid's like, are you really asking me if I can make a giant nail gun? I'm Eustace Kid. Of course I can make a giant nail gun. How big do you want it? He's like, oh, the biggest you can make it. Like, all right, cool. Giant nail gun. I was like, all right, fire that nail gun square in her, like, solar plexus. I don't know anything about the body, but just aim it. Go. He's like, all right, nail gun. He's like firing off attacks at freaking Big Mom, okay? So it's a little weird, but it could work. It could work. All right. So that's like just straight up knocking her out through sheer force, a little bit more of a tactical approach using Law's surgical skills. The next option, and I mean this would be a retread, but this is Big Mom's character, so you can't just like rule this out. The amnesia thing. And I know we've already done it before in Wano, but that's a trait of her character. I mean, if we're gonna do it, might as well. If apparently all it takes is just hitting her really hard on the head. So, I mean, in the next chapter, Kid, being kind of like getting his second wind, could just get up and be like, I'm back in action, pump rotten, bam, and just slam her really hard in the head. And then, you know, Law's like, what are you doing, Kid? Now she's just going to be even more pissed off. And then after that, she's like, where am I? Where's Tama? Where's my Oshiruko? I miss my mom. And I was just like, oh. Well, that worked. And it's just like, all right, Law would understand what it is. Like, you know, he wouldn't be that confused. Like, if Kid hits her really hard in the head, and then she all of a sudden forgets everything, like, why are you guys fighting against me or whatever? Law would know, like, oh, she's okay. Amnesia. I didn't think that would have worked, but okay. Now, Big Mom is still a threat in that form. She could still go into her hunger pains while she's in that form, and that's not going to help anybody out. Then she would just be a raging berserker. She could do that at any time. Like, in the middle of this fight, she could be like, completely decimating Kid and Law and just knocking them around wherever. And then in the middle of this fight, she could be like, it's as easy as eating wedding cake. Wedding cake. I could go for some wedding cake. And then it's like, oh God. Sanji's just like, oh. Sanji is like running away from Queen right now. Sanji's running away and just like, I don't want to turn into a germa. Oh, my wedding cake senses are tingling. Chef Sanji to the rescue. And like Sanji like spins around and he has like a chef outfit and he's like, Queen, stop. I know what I must do. You and me gotta work together to make an awesome wedding cake for Big Mom. And then, I don't know, Queen would be like, well, all right, if you agree to, resume the... form after this, sure, I'll help you make a cake. It's like, all right, you're no pudding, but you'll have to do. And then the rest of their fight is just a Iron Chef-esque bake-off between Sanji and Queen as they make the best wedding cake for Big Mom. That would be, for anybody out there that's just like, hey, Kid and Law just can't defeat Big Mom. All right, how about that solution? Big Mom, go just retread Totland all over again. Big Mom doesn't have to be wedding cake, but Big Mom goes into a hunger pain. Sanji is the only chef around that really knows his shit, so he has to be the one to make her whatever she wants. And Queen wants Sanji to go and fight into the stealth black suit, so maybe Sanji's like, hey, Brachiosaur man, truce, okay? I'll transform into the stealth black form and I'll fight you, but we gotta make food for Big Mom first. He's like, okay. And then they go into Onigashima's kitchen and then they make food. Okay. Barry, write that down. I really want to see that now. That's a what-if video if there ever was one right there, okay? The amnesia thing. I don't think I need to go into greater detail on that other than the baking contest theory. The amnesia could come back again, and if that's the case, then they basically won because Big Mom doesn't seem very confrontational in that form, in that state, unless you, you steal her food. As long as she's fed, she's your friend, okay? And going along with that, I leave the last option here. What if Big Mom just retreats? Now, you might be wondering, why would Big Mom retreat from this battle? Well, there's actually quite a few reasons I can think of why Big Mom would retreat. So the first reason is that Big Mom is only here right now. Well, really the only reason she's there is to fight against the Straw Hats, because the Straw Hats, escaped, right? So that's a reason why she's there. But also, ostensibly, to team up with Kaido and become, kings and rulers of the world, to find the, One Piece Laugh Tale together or whatever. So what if it gets to the point where it's like Kaido is defeated, or he's about to be defeated by Luffy, and Big Mom hears about this, or sees it, or senses it happening, like Kaido's observation hockey's waning or whatever, and just like, oh, he's gonna lose, okay? Big Mom might just be like, well, screw this, I'm not gonna stick around here, watch this ship go down. Big Mom might just be like, okay, I'm gonna grab his poneglyph and then get the hell out of here and go back to Totland, right? She might very well do that if there's no point. If it's like, okay, no sense in Kaido and her being defeated together, honestly. So that's one reason that could happen. Another reason is Tama, because Tama is still Big Mom's ally. Big Mom, even in her state that she is right now with all of her memories returned, still views Tama as her friend and as her ally. So what if Tama were to request Big Mom, please, you don't have to destroy anybody. We'll give you all the Oshiruko you want. Please just leave Wano, Big Mom. Lin-Lin-san. And then Big Mom is just like, okay, I guess for you, Tama. Now, even with that, that's a long shot, because Big Mom is all over the place with her own kids. Sometimes she respects their opinion, other times she's making fun of them, and in the case with Lola, she despises her, and in the case with Chiffon, she despises just because she looks like Lola. So it's sort of a crapshoot. Like I've said before, Big Mom is like the avatar of chaos, of just random things that can happen, okay? One second she could be fighting the Straw Hats, another second she could be fighting against King, and you know what? That would make total sense. The fact that it doesn't make sense makes perfect sense when it comes to Big Mom's, mental state. She's all over the place with that. So if Tama shows up and, it's just like, please, Big Mom, leave this island. Big Mom might actually be swayed by that. I'm not saying it's a guarantee. In fact, the odds are probably against it, but she could be swayed by that, and she could be like, you know what? Screw this. I'm taking my Oshiruko and a copy of Kaido's Poneglyph, and I'm going back home. Right? I'm going home. And she picks up Harrow Sparrow's corpse on the way out, right? Just slings it over her shoulder, like, we're going home, son. And they just walk home, right? Or whatever. They jump off the waterfall and just leave, okay? It would be kind of an anticlimactic finish, but also keep this in mind. After this arc, after Wano, we're going to be leading into the final saga of One Piece, and that's supposedly going to culminate in the Throne Wars, in this big, epic, storied final battle that might take place at Laugh Tale. Like the Straw Hats find the One Piece, and then all of a sudden when they're leaving, all the other pirates and the Marines and the revolutionaries and just like the government, everybody arrives at once. Would Kaido and Big Mom be part of that final war? Or would they just be decimated right now? I mean, Kaido's crew is pretty much decimated at this point. I mean, it really depends on if Kaido's going to die or not. Because you feel like if Kaido does not die in this arc, and his crew is just ejected from Wano, Kaido could always recover. Same thing with King and Queen and Jack and the Tobiroko. None of them are dead. They can all recover at some point, and we might see them again in the final battle, the final Throne Wars of One Piece, right? Same thing with Big Mom. So, Big Mom just saying, screw this, I'm going home, and then leaves. I mean, that would be weird, but it wouldn't be like, all right, that's the last time we're going to see Big Mom. We'll see her again at the end of this story, and, she'll be there along with her crew, and, Harrow Sparrow will probably be back up again. Katakuri will probably see him again and everything. It'll be this epic, giant, massive Marineford times 100 melee at the very end. So, yeah, her just leaving, it would be weird, but once again, if Big Mom were to do it, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest, right? And I know I said, every possibility feasible, and I only wrote down 4, but still, that's possible. So just let me know for more down below in the comments, okay? Well, anyway, before I get going, now it's time for, of course, everybody's favorite segment, Capybara Facts. That's right. Capybaras. They are so cute. Capybaras. They like to eat fruits. Capybaras.
Grab for Breeze Small Spaces. Press firmly to activate, and Small Spaces continuously eliminates and prevents odors to freshen up any small room for up to 45 days. Febreze.
Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agreed to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon update video. In this video, I will show you why I think we might see the first season of House of the Dragon a lot sooner than we think. Now, as you all know, HBO is developing another Game of Thrones show based on George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood Volume 1.
The House of Dragons, a true telling by Grandmaster Monken, being a history of the war of Targaryen succession between the Princess Rhaenyra and Aegon, second of his name, that nearly destroyed the realm.
The Dance of the Dragons. A stupid name for a Targaryen civil war where my ancestors danced away my birthright. Before the war, House Targaryen counted 18 dragons. By the end, we had 2, and nearly as few Targaryens.
In House of the Dragon, we will see what happened during the Dance of Dragons. In fact, we have already seen glimpses of this in HBO Max's first official teaser for the show. That was released a little over a week ago. I'm assuming all of you have seen that by now. What I found really interesting about that teaser trailer was the fact that HBO released it so soon. I believe this might indicate we will see the first season of House of the Dragon in only a few months from now. Let me show you what I mean. When you look at all of the release dates for Game of Thrones, you will see that nearly every season was released during the month of April. As a matter of fact, 6 out of the 8 seasons of Game of Thrones was released in April. That led me to believe this is when we will also see House of the Dragon. I thought this made the most sense since this is when HBO would always release their seasons of Game of Thrones. However, that was until HBO released their first teaser for House of the Dragon on October 5th. This made me go back and look at all of the first official teasers for each of the seasons of Game of Thrones. I wanted to see how many days went by from when HBO would release a teaser to when they would release the first episode of that upcoming season. I think this will give us a better idea of when we can actually expect to see House of the Dragon's first season. Now, if I have done my calculations correctly, I think we only have about 118 days until the new season will air on HBO Max. Again, let me show you what I mean. The very first thing HBO ever released in relation to Game of Thrones was their first preview video, The Raven. This was actually the very first video they ever released on their official Game of Thrones YouTube channel. It was uploaded on January 10th of 2011. That was 97 days before HBO released the first episode of Game of Thrones. Now let me show you what they did for the second season. The very first teaser they released for the second season of Game of Thrones was on September 30th of 2011. That was 184 days before the first episode of the second season aired on HBO. Now let me show you what they did for season 3. The very first teaser they released for the third season of Game of Thrones was on November 18th of 2012.
The great war is between death and life, ice and fire.
That was 133 days before they aired the first episode of season 3 on HBO. Now let's see what they did for season 4. The very first teaser they released for season 4 was on January 10th of 2014. That was 86 days before they aired the first episode of season 4 on HBO. Now let's see what they did for season 5. This was actually much shorter. The very first teaser for season 5 was released on February 27th of 2015.
You spent your life convincing 90 clans to come together for the first time in history. Thens and Ornfoots, the Ice River clans, even the Giants.
That was only 44 days before the first episode of season 5 aired on HBO. Now let's have a look at season 6. The first official teaser for Game of Thrones season 6 was uploaded on December 3rd of 2015.
We watch, we listen, and we remember.
That was 143 days before the first episode aired on HBO. Now let's have a look at season 7. The first official teaser for Game of Thrones season 7 was uploaded on March 9th of 2017.
I know what my father was, what he did.
That was 129 days before season 7's first episode aired on HBO. Now, the final season of Game of Thrones had the same number of days go by from when they released the first teaser to when they released the first episode for that season. So, some of you might be thinking, what do all these numbers mean? Well, this means that when HBO releases their first official teaser for an upcoming season of Game of Thrones, they will wait 118 days on average before they release the first episode for that new season. Now, what does that mean for House of the Dragon? Well, when you consider the first House of the Dragon teaser was released on October 5th, that could mean the first season will begin to air 118 days from that date. If HBO does the same thing for House of the Dragon as they did for Game of Thrones, then we could see the first episode air somewhere around January 31st. January 31st would be 118 days after October 5th, when that first teaser was uploaded. Now, since January 31st falls on a Monday, and HBO likes to release Game of Thrones episodes on Sundays, I think January 30th or February 6th makes a lot more sense. Based on what they did for Game of Thrones, we should see the first episode of House of the Dragon no later than February 6th, which is less than 4 months away. Now, I hope all of this actually makes sense because I did throw a lot of numbers at you. I still have a feeling we won't see House of the Dragon until April because that's when HBO would always release Game of Thrones. But I also will not be shocked if we do see it sooner, considering they have already given us a teaser trailer. I guess we shall see soon enough. Let me know when you think we will see the first season of House of the Dragon. Do you think it will release in April like most of the Game of Thrones seasons have before? Or do you think the math adds up and maybe we have less than 118 days before it airs on HBO Max? I'm always interested in hearing what you have to say. As always, I want to thank all of you for watching the video. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you again very soon. Bye.
Your nose dread, try soothing puffs plus lotion instead.
Well, you know what the realm is. It's the thousand blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agreed to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another House of the Dragon update video. In this video, I want to show you some of the new information that was revealed about House of the Dragon during a recent interview with one of the showrunners, Miguel Sapochnik. Now, for those of you who might not know, Miguel Sapochnik is famously known for directing some of Game of Thrones' greatest episodes like Hardhome, Battle of the Bastards, and The Winds of Winter. After Game of Thrones ended, HBO brought him on to be one of House of the Dragon showrunners alongside one of its co-creators, Ryan Condal. During this interview, Miguel was asked about how House of the Dragon will be different from Game of Thrones. Let me show you what he said. I think we were very respectful of what the original show is, said Sapochnik, who directs multiple episodes of House of the Dragon, and also serves as showrunner alongside the series co-creator Ryan Condal. It wasn't broken, so we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. House of the Dragon has its own tone that will evolve and emerge over the course of the show. But first, it's very important for us to pay respects and homage to the original series, which was groundbreaking. We are standing on the shoulders of that show, and we're only here because of that show. So the most important thing for us to do is to respect that show as much as possible and try to complement it rather than reinvent it. And I was involved in making the original show, so I feel like that's been useful. Like, I'm not arriving going, let's do everything different. That said, we can say, well, when we did Thrones, we did it this way, he added. If you start every sentence with that, you've lost. This is something else, and it should be something else. It's a different crew, different people, different tone. Hopefully, it will be seen as something else. But it will have to earn that. It won't happen overnight. Hopefully, fans will enjoy this for the thing that it is. We'll be lucky if we ever come close to what the original show was, so we're putting our heads down and getting on with it, and hoping that we come up with something that is worthy of having a Game of Thrones title. It's a lot of work, Sapochnik said. It's a pretty interesting shift. I'm producing other directors and getting involved in a lot of the minutiae. I feel vaguely elated on my directing days because I don't have to think about anything other than directing. I've also learned, as I've learned on Finch, that it's becoming more and more important to me as I'm getting older to work with people that I like. Alright, now I want to show you what some of the old Game of Thrones actors had to say about House of the Dragon. Nikolai Coster-Waldau, also known as Jaime Lannister, also gave some of his thoughts about House of the Dragon during one of his recent interviews. He said, I saw the teaser trailer that they came out with and I was intrigued. I thought it was fun to see Matt Smith in that world and in that beautiful white wig. And listen, I'm curious as everyone, but it is a different show. It's its own show. I just hope it's great. I hope the success of Game of Thrones won't get in the way for people when they experience this new show. For us, it took a while for people to get into Game of Thrones. I remember the first season people were saying there are too many characters, I don't know what's happening. I don't think they have the luxury we had. They have to start with where we were in like season 4 or 5 because that's what they will be compared to. But I really hope that it's a massive hit for them. Kit Harington, also known as Jon Snow, gave some of his thoughts about House of the Dragon as well. He said it's being written and produced and run by a very good friend of mine, Miguel Sapochnik, who directed me in the original Thrones, he said. It might be painful to watch, you know. I think there's so much tied up in that I might find it hard. But I would like to watch it and support him and support his work, and I wish them the best with that. So as you can see, none of this is really groundbreaking news, but I did still find it to be interesting nonetheless. I always like hearing from some of my favorite characters from Game of Thrones. It was also nice to finally hear Miguel Sapochnik say a few things about working on House of the Dragon. One of the most exciting things about this new show is learning that he will definitely be directing some of the episodes in the first season. This has me very happy because, as I said before, Miguel has directed some of Game of Thrones' greatest episodes. Knowing that he will do some of the heavy lifting in the first season of this new show only sets them up for success even more. He wasn't directing any episodes on Game of Thrones until season 5, but now he will be hands-on with House of the Dragon from the very beginning, which I think is great. Now, there have also been a lot of new set photos that I have seen online. Let me know if you would like me to make a video about those. They may reveal some more information about some of the scenes we will see in this first season. As always, I want to thank everyone for watching this video. I hope you all have a great day. I will see you again very soon. Bye.
Oh, wow.
Marvel Studios Eternals, only in theaters November 5th.
Let's see if these things even work. I should have started with this down here with a breakdown of the whole thing, so that way I could draw this thing from, you know, the side and 3/4 angle with a better understanding and plan everything out a little bit better. So I'm gonna give this some time to dry and figure itself out. And draw some corrections over here. So this is gonna come all the way down here. And then we have two, three, four. So 1, 2, 3. Shit. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Don't worry, just performing a little ink surgery. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which means this will connect here. All right, we got our first bit here. Which means none of this will exist. And none of that. Have to fix this a little bit. So yeah, these are major connection pieces. So we'll have that. And basically this triangle here is this one. So now we have our measurement. 1, 2, 3. Should be 2, 3, so you'll have 2 along the way. So that's One. And one there. Alright. It's gonna get ugly before it gets beautiful. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. So then this one connects to 2. So now here connects to the third. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is connecting to the root. So this is okay. Now this this. Oh, I can't believe I let myself do this. Alright. This is what happens on when you just jump in and start drawing on Inktober. Okay. Alright, so what we have here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so 1, 2, 3, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, there we go. Diamonds. 1, 2. Be about would be this row, right? Yeah. Okay. So then 3 be about here-ish. Okay, so that's what's throwing me off, is this old... You're not there. You're not there. You're not there. You're not there. Now, part of me feels so ashamed of myself. You know, years ago, long before I started streaming, I had studied scales and like fish scales, dragon scales, things like that. Studying them meaning like the art form of actually creating them, especially in tattoo art. And yeah, the fact that I allowed this to happen is, on Inktober of all times, is quite the failure. And you'll see what I mean. So let's try to do this a little bit of justice. So we got the head that we want to keep. We have the center point that we want to keep. We have our main line here, which is point, point, and fork. There we go. And on this point, we have our first diamond. And then we have 7 of these points. So we have a clasp connection here. And in between this clasp connection, we have 3. So we can put 1 point here. There's a diamond. And then in between there's a diamond. And in between these, there's a diamond. So those are our main measurements. We can, you know, put another 1, 2, 3 here on this side, but you know, we're not going to really be focusing on that. Just because it's on the back side. There we go. Okay. Now this is our main one, and here's our spine, at which point we have a diamond here, and do I want to make that? So that's the lowest point. Then right. So that's going to be the lowest point. Then over here, this diamond would actually be the lowest point. In which case, I can put you here. And then there are 2 of you in between. So I wasn't completely wrong. But yeah. What do we have here? N all the way here. So there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that'll be our diamond there, in which case we only have 1 in between. Sweet. Now for the measurements, our main point cuts all the way down to here. So there's 1, the next one cuts half, which is here, and This next one cuts to the end, which is you. And you cut here. Alright, and that gives us the two connections here. So there's circle, brace, brace. Yep. Alright, we're on our way. And the whole reason why I studied these things years ago is to understand how all these things coil in a three-dimensional, you know, in 3D basically. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is rough it out in red and then go back over it. In you know, black or blue or something. Holy shit. Alright. So yeah, this one is a diamond here. And a circle between. Circle, 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 circle. Oh shit. So 1, 2, 1, 2, done. This one. Connects to you. Unless okay. You are 4. So you were supposed to connect here.
Cielo, tu Satan. Oh, no, me. Oh, my God. Cielo, tu Satan. It's okay, my nose. Cielo, tu Satan.
Oof. This paper bubbling. Alright. Wish I had a blow dryer or something. Ah, shit. Oh, there goes that plan. Alright, let's do this. Yeah, thanks to that healthy layer of white paint, that ink is not drying anytime soon. So I can't tighten this up like how I want to. Yeah. This shit. All right, man. I think I failed enough for this video. So that's gonna be it. I'm G Mr. Drew. I don't even know if I introed this video. I think I just kind of jumped in. Either way, it is what it is. Damn, it's only 1 in the morning. I may actually have time to come back later on. I don't know. I gotta let this ink dry before I do anything because it's super wet over here. Maybe I'll get a blow dryer and see if I could like expedite the drying process before moving on and zooming in on some of these parts and kind of letting that be that. But yeah, you could see the ink was still wet. Kind of got one of my markers here when I was gonna actually tighten up, you know, all these edges that are super loose. You know, they're kind of tightening up here, but even here it's still a little rough, where I may need to still put a few layers. But yeah, I mean, I could see the shine. Can't really see it here in this video, but I could see the shine in the from the light coming in, at least from my angle that I'm drawing from. So yeah, man, I should have started here, and I knew it when I started drawing, and I ignored myself. And this is what happens when you ignore yourself, man. Had I done this first, I would have been better equipped to handle these two, you know, because this is just a side shot. And, you know, even this would have been a little bit difficult compared to that. You could see there's a, you know, there's a row of red here, and then going straight down another row of red, and then going straight down another row of red, and then going straight down another row here. And you know, when you start to form these things, these straight lines, this is like it if it was laid out on the floor. Once you start to wrap things around, like you could see that that row of red is kind of, you know, almost radiating. And yeah, so this is from a sideways angle that's kind of like three-dimensional almost. And then even here is a little more difficult because it was 3/4, and all of this is like, you know, there's foreshortening involved and everything like that. And yeah, all these patterns are super difficult. So when I didn't start with this and I started here, I mean, that's where this was a failure to begin with. Honestly, I'm this close to getting a sticky note and then just boom, sticking it right on top there, just to cover up this mess. So yeah, I may end up doing that. I wonder if I just want to do it now. Nah, the ink's wet. I'm gonna go get a blow dryer, blow dry this thing, and dry that out. Throw a few sticky notes on top of this, and then have another go at these two. Just cause I've been on a good roll, and yeah, it's been a while since I fucked something up this bad. So let's at least it's immortalized in this video. But yeah, we'll fix that in the next video. And like I said, I got some time tonight, so tonight's all about you know, doing things how you know you should have and started here. Even if I went here and jumped onto this one, that probably would have been best. And then saving these for last, just because of the level of difficulty to try to tackle these things is just that hard. Anyways, I'm G Mr. Drew. It's at G Mr. Drew on all socials. Follow, like, and subscribe. If you hate what you're seeing here, please don't hate too hard. You know, I'm at least kind of decent sometimes. So if this is your first time stopping by the channel and you're just enjoying this car wreck of a video, then yeah, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Any and all support is appreciated. You know, you can follow me on social media. All those links are in my bio, along with my website, gmrdrew.art. Check that out. Contact me through there if you wish. Don't know why you would after seeing this work, but yeah, that's gonna be it, man. Let's call it at that. I'll be back later on tonight to fix these things up. All right, love y'all. Peace.